There is no straightforward route to the most coveted seat in the land of Nigeria, and the 16 candidates of the different political parties have some unique challenges, maybe not entirely unique to each candidate. My name is Shegun, and I really want to appreciate everyone who has subscribed to this channel. For those who are yet to subscribe, please smash the subscribe button right now. We also appreciate you liking the video to help us know you're happy with this content, the race to the presidential election 2023, and you need to get involved, and to do that you need the updates. So please check out our video on how much your votes cost. I really feel every single Nigerian should actually watch that video, both at home and abroad. And then it's a fantastic video where I want to assure you that you will like it. Quickly, let's get to this video. Now, today we'll be looking at the challenges ahead for the different presidential candidates, and based on the fact that obviously there are 4 major presidential candidates, basically the PDP, APC, Labour Party, and the NNPP. So the other candidates, not as if they are not actually presidential candidates, or not as if we don't respect them. We have a very high regard. I have a very high regard for every one of them. But except they pull a very big surprise, there's a strong tendency that the only persons who will be becoming the president after next year's election is going to be someone from the PDP, the APC, the Labour Party, and the NNPP. So I'm talking in person of it's Atiku Abubakar, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Peter Obi, and Dr. Rabiu Kwankwaso. So in alphabetical order of the party, we're going to be having several videos for each of the presidential candidates. We'll be talking about what they need to do to win, and why we feel they might not also win, why we feel they could win, why we feel they might not win, and some of the things about that. So of course, if you like the video, please give it a like at the end of this video. Yeah, basically. So in this video, of course, we'll be focusing on Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu when we look at in terms of how the ballot paper is going to be. So in ballot paper, you're going to be having the parties listed in alphabetical order. Of course, when we look at APC, PDP, Labour Party, and NNPP, based on alphabetical numeration that we know from our days in primary school, we understand that A is the first letter in the alphabet. So definitely we're starting with the APC, and the presidential candidate for the APC is Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In this video, we want to focus on why he could win and why he could not win. First to note is that the APC is the ruling party. It means that every good or bad of the current government would affect their credibility. Many persons, just like what Oshomole quoted recently, saying that Tinubu is not part of this government and should not be ascribed to the success and the failure of this government. The reality is that except you are a diehard APC fan, you would always judge the book by its cover. That's the reality. We always tend to have to judge the book by its cover, and the cover at the moment is the ruling party. Another thing you need to also note is the fact that most of the persons that Tinubu are going to be working with are also APC people who, one way or the other, are either occupying one position or the other in the current government. So take for example, maybe Tinubu, if he gets to become the president, he's definitely going to work with Fayemi, he's definitely going to work with Fashola and some of the other guys, possibly Amechi, who was even his runners, or possibly the vice president of Shibanjo, maybe having one ministerial appointment or the other. So he's going to work with these same guys. It may just be different offices. So the template of the APC remains the same, according to Festus Keyamo, who said that the change will not be that Buhari will not change to Tinubu. For example, Festus Keyamo we're talking about is currently a minister under Buhari's regime, and now is the spokesperson for Tinubu's administration, for Tinubu's campaign. So we can see that they would still be occupying one position or the other, so the people would not change. So because the people would not change, it means that we can measure the level of their success and their failure based on the current administration. So we'll go straight to the next part of the video, why Tinubu could win. So I'll start by saying that Tinubu has a lot of advantages that could give him the seat. The first is that the APC is the largest party in the country. Every single person in APC is expected to vote, or at least vote for the APC candidate. So for example, based on the current figures that I have, or from the statistics we got earlier this year, we discovered that the APC membership is about 11 million plus candidate members. So if you're taking into account the fact that there are about 11 million votes waiting on standby for any candidate of the ruling party, then we understand that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu already has, like, when we look at the last elections, the last 2 elections we've had, In 2019, we had an election where Buhari won with 13 million votes to Atiku's 11 million votes. So it means that all of the things that Atiku was able to gather together is what APC alone will be able to give Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, provided all of them actually vote for their candidate, which is expected. So it means that every party with millions of persons already have some million votes ahead. So that means Tinubu already has some million votes ahead. Be sure that Tinubu is ready to harness the membership strength. You can see him making several appointments. He's saying that for the Director General, he chose from this region, for the vice presidential candidate, chose from another region. For this, he has promised these people that, he will give them the Senate. He has promised this, that he will do this. And all those different things that he's doing is to make sure that he wants to harness all of the different persons, all of the membership strength basically of the APC. He has even promised some people positions, like for example, some of the things we read in the news recently about the fact that he had promised the El Rufais and co about some positions when he eventually gets, or if he eventually gets into office. So he is ready to harness the membership strength of the APC. That's the first advantage. Second advantage is the fact that the APC has majority everywhere. Now, I'm not talking about just membership now. I'm talking about the fact that they have majority virtually everywhere in politics. For example, they are the ruling party. If you go to the Senate, they have the majority in the Senate. If you go to the House of Representatives, they have the majority in the House of Representatives. And if you also look at the governors, out of 36 governors, we have 22 APC governors. So it just simply tells you the fact that they have practically majority everywhere. So part of the reason why you see that this is a very big advantage is that there's a Nigerian nepotism towards parties in politics. What do I mean by Nigerian nepotism towards parties in politics? Naturally, many people go to the ballot box not knowing the candidate's name or the candidate, and you just say, oh, it's APC, we're voting for this party, or it's PDP, we're voting for this party or two. Whether at the presidential level, at the Senate level, at the whatever level it may be, even down to the local government chairman level, they don't exactly know those persons. They just vote for them based on the party. And at the moment, the APC has majority everywhere in politics, so they stand a better chance of getting that nepotism vote, or the quote-unquote sentiment vote. But I won't call it sentiment vote. I will call it a vote that is biased towards parties in politics. The third advantage that Tinubu has, which is possible, is a possible tribal war. Now, Tinubu has the possibility of winning this election based on the advantage of a possible tribal war. Now, according to INEC statistics, the largest number of voters are in the northwest, and after the northwest, we have the southwest, and then all the other regions. So all the other regions have their different, how they share them. Of course, the lowest are the southeast and the northeast. But let's start from the northwest. The northwest is where the largest number of voters are. We will discover that among these 4 top presidential candidates and their vice presidential aspirants as well, or their candidates as well, we will discover that Tinubu is the only Yoruba man there. So it means he's the only person from the southwest. I'll give you a practical example. So for PDP now, Atiku Abubakar is from the northeast, while his running mate, who is Okowa, is from the south. Now, when we look at APC, Tinubu is from the southwest, Shettima is also from the northeast. So that means Shettima and Atiku are both from the northeast. Then when we look at Labour Party, Peter Obi is from the southeast. And then we discover that his running mate is from the northwest. And then when we look at NNPP, we discover that Kwankwaso is from the northwest and his running mate is from the south. Of course, you will tell me that Peter Obi obviously too is the only one from the southeast. But let's not forget the fact that I said that the highest number of voters is from the northwest, and the second highest number of voters is from the southwest, and the lowest number of voters is from the northeast and the southeast. So it means that that's why Peter Obi is the only one from the southeast. His number of votes is relatively very small. It's relatively smaller compared to Tinubu's own. If this next year's elections ends up as a possible tribal war, where we say, oh, go and vote for your kinsman, or go and vote for your brother, as Nigerians would always say it. So it simply means that you will see things like, and of course, because of the synergy between the south and the southeast, you cannot completely write off Obi and telling Obi that Obi owns the whole of the southeast, simply because we know that the Igbos tend to, for example, Okowa is claiming to be Igbo, even though he is not from the southeast. He's from the south, but he is an Igbo man. So you can imagine that Okowa, Idahosa, and Obi will be having to fight for the votes from the South and the Southeast. So if this ends in a possible tribal war or in a possible tribal election, then you end up seeing Tinubu having an edge simply because he is the only representative from the Southwest. Of course, we might talk about the place of the Northwest where the number of votes are plenty there, but let's not forget the fact that Dati Baba Ahmed and Rabiu Kwankwaso are both from the Northwest. So, and of course, there's also some sentiments around the northern regions. So it means that you still expect someone like Atiku Abubakar to still pull some votes even from the Northwest. But like I said, this would only happen if it ended up becoming a possible tribal war. The fourth advantage that Tinubu have, and you may not like it, is the fact that he has money. He's the richest practically amongst every one of them. Now, as much as I would dove my heart for Atiku too in terms of money, the PDP is not as rich as the APC, at least not at the moment. And I will tell you the reason is because the APC has the money bags to sponsor campaigns, settle agents, and they will likely buy votes. As sad as it is, the reality is that, let's be honest guys, the reality is that these guys buy votes. Of course, when we look at in Osun State, we discover that there was vote buying on the two sides. There was vote buying from PDP and there was vote buying from APC. When you look at the Ekiti State election, there was massive vote buying. As some people were actually caught, there was massive vote buying on the side of the APC. So we discovered that there are a lot of vote buyings that will always happen, and APC has the money bags, being the fact that they are the ruling party and there are many rich persons in their midst. For whatever source they got their money, that's another discussion for another day. But the reality is that APC sits on the money, whether we like it or not, and it has proved that money had swayed a lot of Nigerians in the elections in the past. That's why I want us to go and watch my previous video for you to know how much your vote costs, how much your vote, that your one tiny vote, how much your vote costs. Now let's go to why I think Tinubu might not win, that could go against him in next year's election. They say that with great powers comes greater responsibilities, and you can say with a larger political house comes a larger political conflict. Of course, I just mentioned the fact that APC is the largest party in the country, and so with a larger political house comes larger political conflict. The first and foremost is that I must say it for record that party conflicts always translates to political downfalls, whether they are notable, when there are notable oppositions. Of course, it's when we look at the case of Goodluck losing out in 2015 to Muhammadu Buhari, it was simply because there were party conflicts within the PDP that got people like Obasanjo to turn his back on PDP and so many other things to happen. Despite that, as at that time, the PDP was the largest political party. Once there are party conflicts and there is a very notable opposition, there is a tendency that that party loses the election. Of course, when we look at it also, we see it in the case of the Osun State election recently. We discovered that there were party conflicts between Aregbesola and Oyetola, and it led to the downfall of APC as a whole, even in the polls, and PDP coming out with Adeleke. Like I mentioned, once there is a notable opposition, if there is no notable opposition, it may not show, but once there is a notable opposition, it will show. And there are many things that still shows that APC is having a lot of conflict. Of course, when we look at the case of Amosu and Dapo Abiodun, for example, in Ogun State, and we see that, Amosu is not ready to agree for Dapo Abiodun, and he has come out openly and publicly to say that Dapo Abiodun should never have won the election in 2019. And in the same APC, we have the same APC cutting Wike, and recently they've been having several meetings with Wike, knowing fully well that Wike and Amechi, who is currently in the APC, are sworn political enemies. So we understand, of course, Wike and Amechi's history, so we will not be going into that. And then knowing fully that Wike finished second to Atiku, who is flying the flag for PDP, and Amechi also finished second to Tinubu, who is flying the flag for APC. So imagine if Tinubu and APC is cutting Wike, who is Amechi's sworn political enemy, then it begins to cause some rumbles within the political party. And then we also see the fact that there are some rumors saying that because Shettima was chosen over, because Shettima was chosen and it was not a governor from the northwest. Some of the northwestern governors are not completely happy with the selection. Whether that is true or that is not true, of course, I'm hearing things like they've been promised some positions, but all those things we don't know yet until whether they can get into power. That's if they even get to power in 2023. And of course, the place of the rifts because of the Muslim ticket within the Christians in the APC. Imagine you having a political party where you had about 23 persons who were running for presidential position, and amongst those 23 persons you had two pastors in person of Professor Yemi Oshibajo and Pastor Tunde Bakari. So obviously, having the place of the Muslim tickets that happened within the party, even if it was another party, it possibly might have not been a big issue. But we can see the case of Babachi Lawal and Dugara coming out to say that they are not in support of the choice of Kashim Shettima. So we can see that these are some of the things that are putting like a little bit of a political mess in the APC. And like I said, with a larger political house comes a larger political conflict. And of course, the second disadvantage for Tinubu, whether we like it or not, is the Buhari administration. While everyone in APC will say that their government has done a lot, infrastructure, we've done a lot in agriculture, the reality is that those points do not really carry weight. And I'll start with the agriculture. When you claim to be an administration that has gone so much into agriculture and the price of bag of rice has increased from 7,500 naira when you came into power to 30,000 naira plus, 20,000 naira plus, how do you defend the fact that your administration has done well in agriculture? Of course, when we look at the place of infrastructure, you have built a lot of infrastructure, whereas the people are not able to use those infrastructures simply because of high price and also because of large insecurity. For example, the Kaduna-Abuja Railway, where it was lauded at what a wonderful job that the federal government had done. Now people can no longer plow that road because of bandits, because of kidnappers. So when you're trying to defend what an administration has done, you need to look at how it has contributed to the people that they serve, because they say that democracy is power by the people and for the people. So when the democracy is not for the people, then it's not exactly going to be democracy. So we understand that the reality is based on the ups and downs, or the things that Nigerians that don't sit well with Nigerians, especially in the Buhari administration. It will be difficult for APC to sell their presidential candidates without attaching themselves to some of the failures, if I'll permit me to use that word, some of the failures of the current administration. And I will tell you for a fact that price of fuel has always increased, but has increased close to 100 naira in this administration. Diesel is a no-no, and then you see banks having to close early because they cannot afford diesel. The price of dollar has more than doubled the price in this administration. Just like I mentioned, the bag of rice has more than tripled its price in this administration. So how do you defend a candidate that is stemming from the ruling party when they are not meeting up to the expectations of Nigerians? The third disadvantage for Tinubu is the same faith ticket. And while so many people say, it doesn't matter about religion, it doesn't matter about this, it doesn't matter about that, there are two major fundamental problems about the choice of Shettima. And I will try as much as possible to be analytical about it, just because we are all listening to this video because of these things. Number one problem with the choice of Shettima is because of the fact that people believe that Tinubu's choice of Shettima has been more about himself rather than the people. And why do they say so is because they believe that because of the sensitive nature of Nigerians, where so many persons believe that there is an Islamization agenda, there is an agenda to Islamize the country, and so many things and every other thing, which some persons believe it's not exactly true. Some persons think it's actually true. It means that for you to appeal to the people that you want to serve, for you to appeal to the people that you want to serve in 2023, there is a need for you to appeal to their emotions. And if the choice of Shettima, which is going against the the emotions of these persons that you want to serve. It's indirectly pushing to them, letting them feel like they would not count in 2023. For example, so many persons in some of the engagements that we have had, TepTV, we have seen some persons saying that the government had made a lot of decisions without even thinking about how they feel about it. And just now, one of the biggest decisions that every government will make is the first decision they ever make is the choice of their running mate. And when Tinubu had made a decision of the same faith tickets, even disregarding the emotions of some persons within the blocks of Nigeria, particularly the Christians, is something that has brought about a lot of disadvantage to selling the APC ticket. And like I mentioned, it's a very big disadvantage simply because sentiment votes matter. And we can see that it's one of the reasons why Hillary Clinton lost the election to Donald Trump even 2 elections ago in America, simply because they had not completely bought into the idea. The 2 reasons why she lost the election: number 1 reason is America as a whole had possibly not completely bought into the idea of having a female president. And the second reason, which is the more important reason, is the fact that a past president was impeached in the United States, and that past president was Hillary's husband. So the mindset of Americans is that it's going to be that the president who we actually impeached some time ago will be coming back again in the mold of his wife to rule us as a nation. So those are some of the things that matters when people want to cast their vote, and it's called as sentiment votes actually matter. APC has enjoyed it, especially when Buhari was labeled as a retired general who was capable enough to kill corruption and to kill insurgency in the country, compared to a feeble Jonathan, if the case may be, in 2015. And this actually made people buy into the Buhari agenda, where he was able to win in the election in both 2015 and 2019. So sentiment matters, and that's the third disadvantage for Tinubu. The fourth and the biggest disadvantage is the EndSARS protest event that happened in October 2020. There was a youth representative of the APC who came on Channels TV recently to say that the youths protested and therefore they killed security operatives that were not enough and are therefore causing insecurity. Can you imagine what the guy was saying? Now is not the time to debate what he said, but I can tell you that he just created enemies in more youths, and that's the reality. The biggest disadvantage for this APC administration is the EndSARS protest. The youths were so pissed off that they came out for the first time since when I was born. They came out, the people who would claim that the only thing they do with their lives is what BB Nigeria and the rest of the likes, came out and actually protested for several weeks, saying simply because of the level of police brutality within the country, asking that they needed a better government. If you still come around the Magodo Bridge, you will still see some of the scribblings on the wall of the youths during the protest in year 2020. So those were the pains and everything, the pains and the agony. And because of that, they made a vow within themselves to get more engaged and to participate more in politics. And because of that, they have decided to queue behind another aspirant, which I will not be mentioning in this video. And this is one of the biggest disadvantage to the Tinubu campaign. Simply because, not because Tinubu is a bad person or is not a bad person, but simply because the APC is the ruling party. And when there is something that happens like what happened at the Lekki toll gate, whether you agree or you disagree, you discover that it is impossible for the government, the ruling government, to say they are not involved. Why? Because the governor of the state is from the ruling party. The president of the state is from the ruling party. And what happened in front of the cabal of the current presidential candidate of the ruling party. So it's difficult to step aside from all these things. And a lot of political commentators are still going to raise up this issue when the campaigns become thick and fast. And I don't know, but to tell you that it is not just anyone outside the ruling party, but we can see that every single stakeholder within the ruling party, one way or the other, was involved. And the question is, who else could have mobilized the military? This is why many youths are trying to support other candidates outside the APC, because they were the bedrock of the EndSARS campaign. Now, to conclude this video, I would say that for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the APC, the reality is that they have lost some supporters, both internally and externally. If they claim they have gained more, then I would argue that they have lost much more. The only question is how many they have lost will determine how well they will do well in the elections. So, for example, look at Jonathan in 2011. Jonathan had 22 million votes in 2011, and then when he got to 2015, he had 12 million votes. It means that he lost 10 million votes. So how much they have lost? Because if we look at Buhari also as well, in 2015 he had 16 million votes, and then in 2019 he had 13 million votes. So he had lost 3 million votes, but he was still having enough to beat Atiku Abubakar, who had 11 million votes. So the question for 2023 elections is not that the fact that they have lost votes. They have obviously lost some number of voters, but the thing is how much they have lost would determine how much damage it will cause in 2023. In our next video, I'll be talking about the next candidate on the ballot, and I'm not here to tell you who will win and who you should vote for. Please note me, I'm not here to tell you who will win or who you should vote for. I'm only telling you who they are and that you are not to lose guard. Omoya, watch. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to be notified of when the next video comes out. Follow us on Instagram at TepTV_productions. Peace out.